that, let's bring in my friend Chip Roy, who I've been blowing up his phone trying to get him to run for senator. Don't think that's going to stop anytime soon, Chip. You might as well go ahead and block my number. But let's focus on the whole speakership vote thing for now. You were out early, and as you often are, you were bold about your opposition, about the stances you were going to take. Tell us why. Everyone's put a lot of words in your mouth. You tell us why.
Well, first of all, it was really important after the election to recognize that the American people sent a message they do want change. Now, we probably could have performed a little better in November if we had done a variety of things differently, in my opinion. But here we are. We have the House majority. The American people expect us to do what we said we would do. And given that we had a fairly thin majority, it was very clear that we needed to establish how this game is going to be played and make it very clear that we need to sit down at the table and advance conservative priorities. A few of my colleagues leaned into the fight with hardcore saying, look, we're opposing McCarthy. I raised a lot of questions saying, well, I need the leader to make clear what he's going to do to lead us forward. And we sent a memo out in early December 8th, where we outlined what we believe were the key areas that needed to be addressed by any speaker candidate. So we spent the last month almost exactly negotiating through those things. It took a while to get where we needed to go. Frankly, probably could have and should have been done before January 3rd. But sometimes it just takes the pressure of getting through the moment in order to get where you need to go. And look, we had a great week where the American people got to see 434 people in a chamber with people raising ideas and thoughts and differences of opinion and standing up for them. And I think that resonated. I think the American people saw that. And I think all the talking heads, there was like a 180-degree switch in the middle of last week by a lot of the talking heads who started the week going, oh, those knuckleheads, they're all in it for personal gain. And, then they started saying, wait a second, they're just trying to push for openness, open rules, be able to cut spending. They want to limit spending. That sounds a lot like why we actually sent them there. So crazy, we're with them.
Chip, will you please expand on limiting spending? Now, that's music to my ears. Just take a hacksaw out of that whole thing, but explain what's getting cut, because I'm positive every low-T GOP loser in D.C. is talking about you taking away grandma's Social Security check right now.
Well, you're exactly right. It took approximately 0.2 seconds for everybody to be saying, you're going to slaughter defense, you're going to take away our ability to defend our country, you're going to hurt Social Security and Medicare. Everybody calm down. Here's what we did. Number one, we changed the process so that we have to be able to see the rules for the bills that are produced for 72 hours. And we've got a rules committee, which is the one who decides how this stuff gets to the floor, that now has conservatives on it that can enforce those rules. We have single subject. We have germaneness. That all changes the tenor so you can't pile a lot of stuff in there. But here's the important part. We required that we be able to offer amendments on the floor during the appropriations fight to cut spending. In other words, we would have an open rule process for cutting spending. That's been embraced. That's a big deal. We haven't done that for years. And then the final part, we got an agreement, and we talked to the speaker about this, about limiting spending, that we would cap spending at fiscal year 22 levels. Now, that's still an outrageously high level of spending, Jesse. But in order to balance the budget over 10 years, in order to get that accomplished and not undermine our ability to spend what we need for defense, we agreed to do an FY22 cap. That would be one of the biggest reductions in spending in history. And we would be, frankly, that would be an enormous win. But here's the key. You got to use the leverage points to do it. And that's when we get to the spending mechanism in September, or say in July, when we are going through June or July, the debt ceiling fight.
Leverage. It seems like someone else was just talking about that. All right. Now, explain this to me, Jim. Explain to me all the opposition towards it. Because when you lay things out, to hear you talk about that, a moderate spending cut, that's nothing scary or drastic. Certainly not what I know you would probably do if you were dictator. We're talking about single issue bills. We're talking about a term limit vote. We're talking about accountability for the FBI, which we'll get to in a second. Now, this is conservatism 101 for what people want today, and yet 90% of the GOP pundit class opposed you for the last week. Why?
Well, here's the thing. We laid out in very clear terms on December 8th that we wanted certain structural reforms. We were able to get a lot of those things adopted or agreed to, I should say. But there were the key things that mattered for substantive issues, spending, being able to fight for the border. So you're putting up the Texas border plan. We wanted to make sure we were going to advance the Texas border plan, which all but one members of the Republican delegation from Texas supported and got behind because it actually focuses on security. We were able to mandate, hey, we need to end the COVID mandates. We wanted to make sure that we were going to get a term limits vote. There were things that we thought were really important that weren't a part of the commitment that needed to be put forward. But what we were able to do, I think, was show that there is a backlash from the swamp when you dare stand up and say, here are the things that need to be done. And then at the end of the day, we showed that we were able to win by taking it to the American people. That was on display when Mike Rogers and Matt Gaetz had a little bit of tension on Friday night. And look, I think Matt has handled that very well, and Mike too. Subsequently, they've on social media said, "Hey, we're going to work together." But that was, hey, the ones who are the insurgents pushing and saying we need change, and then the establishment, the order, the chairman saying, "No, we're not going to change." We need to do that. As I said yesterday on one of the shows, a little temporary conflict is really important in order to force the changes here, so the Republicans can do what we said we would do. I don't fear those conflicts. We wake up tomorrow and we all figure out how to work together because that's what we're paid to do. But damn it, I'm going to force that when it needs to be forced.
Amen. All right, finally, the FBI. This is my biggest issue because I believe what's happening right now with the administrative state will end this nation if it is not fixed. I love that we have some sort of accountability coming. What does it look like? What do we have? What don't we have?
Well, first of all, Jim Jordan is obviously an extraordinary chairman of the Judiciary Committee.
Yes.
Proud to serve on it, proud to serve with him. What we've been striving for and pushing for an independent church-style committee is to elevate the extent to which we are saying that we need broad powers across the entirety of all of the various agencies. And then we decided ultimately in the end, rather than independently doing that, to marry it with the Judiciary Committee as a powerful select subcommittee where Jim would be able to be in charge of that from the top as the chairman. We're still figuring out how to structure that, and there's a number of ways to do that in terms of personnel. But it's really critically important that we go after the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, the intel agencies, all of the power brokers for what they've done. And here's the important part. Also, Fauci and all of those involved with NIH and CDC and the FDA, all of the decisions that they have made, absolutely abhorrent what they've done to the American people. And Jesse, you've been one of the ones leading on that, along with my good friend Steve Dace and some others, making clear that this is completely unacceptable. And we need to make sure that this weaponization of government, it's made clear it's not just the FBI. It's not just intelligence agencies. It's the whole apparatus of bureaucrats who are at war with the American people. And that needs to be made clear. That needs to be put on display. And then we need to lay out a roadmap on what we need to deal with it in terms of defunding or transforming these agencies.
Congressman, go get them. We're rooting for you.
Thanks, Jesse. God bless. Take care.